Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we really get into these incredible stories and ideas, pulling out the key insights for you.
That's right.
And today, well, we're diving into something truly strange, profoundly unsettling, also incredibly relevant. It's Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis.
A classic and a genuinely disturbing one.
Absolutely. And it's more than just that famous opening line, the guy waking up as a giant bug.
Much more.
Yeah, it's this chilling look at loneliness, identity, and how society, maybe even our own families, can react when someone suddenly isn't productive or useful anymore.
That's societal pressure, yeah.
So our mission today, we want to really unpack this classic, pull out the most important bits of knowledge, the core insights, help you understand why it still feels so powerful, so hauntingly clear even, over 100 years later?
It really does resonate.
Okay, let's unpack this.
It's a story that just grabs you instantly, doesn't it? Right from that very first sentence.
You're kidding.
And what's fascinating here is just that immediate, visceral shock of the idea itself. I mean, can you imagine waking up and you open your eyes and everything's changed? Your body, your reality, you're suddenly this grotesque, enormous insect.
It's your nightmare fuel made real for Gregor Samsa, the main character.
Yeah, exactly. And Kafka, he doesn't give you any preamble, no easing you in. He just throws you headfirst into this existential crisis.
Right, into the deep end.
Yeah, confronting you and Gregor with the sheer absurdity of it. And by doing that, he forces us, as readers, to think about some really uncomfortable stuff like, well, human existence itself, what do we actually value in each other? In ourselves, where do we fit in? It's not just a physical change. It's like, bang, instant philosophical crisis.
It's absurd, yeah, where logic just vanishes.
Completely.
And that immediacy, that lack of explanation, that's part of the genius, isn't it?
Oh, totally.
He doesn't waste a single word, just boom. One morning, when Gregor Samsa woke from troubled dreams, he found himself transformed in his bed into a gigantic insect.
Great.
Probably one of the most famous opening lines ever written.
Undeniably.
And there's no why.
Yeah.
No magic spell, no weird science experiment, just this is reality now. Deal with it.
And that lack of explanation is key. It's a deliberate technique.
How so?
Well, it puts us right there with Gregor, doesn't it? Experiencing the same surreal horror, the same disorientation. There's no rational hook to hang on to.
You just have to accept this bizarre new truth, just like he does.
Exactly. And instantly, his whole world is just upended. His body, his job, his family relationships, everything is suddenly in question. No way out, no explanation.
It's the definition of Kafkaesque, that term we use now for situations that feel absurdly complicated, illogical, nightmarish.
Like inescapable bureaucracy or just overwhelming anxiety. That's Gregor's reality now.
And speaking of that abruptness, Gregor's first reaction is, well, it's something else, isn't it?
It really is. It's almost darkly funny in a tragic way.
You'd think he'd be screaming, panicking,
What?
right? Questioning reality.
You would, but nope. What's the first thing on his mind?
Missing the train for work.
Exactly. Missing work, his demanding boss, the deadlines for his job as a traveling salesman, and crucially, the money. The money he needs for his family.
It's just staggering.
It is. And it's not just a weird character quirk. It's Kafka making a point, a really sharp commentary on, the pressures of modern life, responsibility, routine.
The daily grind.
Yeah, the sheer weight of it. Even when faced with something as existentially catastrophic as turning into a giant insect, his first thought is about his obligations.
Work over reality.
Pretty much. Which, this raises an important question, doesn't it? What does that say about our society? Maybe about us? That our first instinct in an unimaginable crisis might be to worry about our job.
It suggests those pressures are just so deeply ingrained. Economic needs, societal expectations. They can sometimes feel more real than our own bodies, our own selves.
Kafka shows it so vividly. Gregor's there, stuck on his back, can't move properly, looking at this picture on his wall.
The woman in furs, yeah.
And all he can think about is the missed train, getting fired, the family debt he's supposed to be paying off.
He's still thinking like a human, absolutely. But his value, it's already being judged differently, isn't it?
Instantly. It's about his ability to do something, to perform his role. It really makes you think, how many of us are caught in similar gears, prioritizing the system over our own, shocking personal reality if something like that ever happened?
It's a pretty painful mirror to hold up, isn't it? especially when you consider who Gregor was before this happened.
Right, his role in the family was crucial.
He was the definition of the tireless provider, a traveling salesman, always on the road, hating the job but doing it anyway.
Bad food, early trains, superficial relationships.
Exactly. All of it to support his aging parents and his younger sister, Grichi. He was literally the only one bringing in money, paying off his father's old business debt.
The sole breadwinner, the linchpin of their financial stability.
So when he transforms, well, the family's first reaction is obviously horror, confusion, disgust. Understandable, I guess.
Understandable, but still jarring.
But there's also that little flicker initially of something else, right? Concern, maybe?
Yeah, particularly with Greet, his sister. She steps up, at least at first. Hesitantly, sure, but she's the one who brings him food.
Trying different things, milk, then scraps.
Right, trying to figure out what this creature might eat. And she takes on cleaning his room, which must have been awful.
That initial fragile bit of empathy, it's really important, isn't it? Because it sets up the contrast for what happens later.
Oh, absolutely. It shows compassion was possible, at least for a moment. It wasn't just instant, total rejection. There was a struggle there, an attempt, however awkward, to maintain some kind of connection.
But it doesn't last.
No. And that initial flicker makes the slow, cruel erosion of that compassion even more heartbreaking to watch.
How does it start to change?
Well, as the days drag on, and Gregor is still. Gregor the bug, and maybe getting worse in their eyes, certainly more of a burden, their attitude just shifts. Gradually, but unmistakably.
You see it in specific moments.
Definitely. Like with the father, he'd been kind of feeble before, right? Dependent on Gregor's income.
Yeah, invalid almost.
But he goes through his own kind of metamorphosis. He gets his energy back, becomes this authoritarian, almost aggressive figure.
And then there's that scene. The apples.
Ugh, yes, truly disturbing. He literally chases Gregor around and starts throwing apples at him, violently.
And one gets stuck in Gregor's back.
Lodged deep in his shell. And it gets infected, this festering wound that contributes to his decline. It's physical, yes, but it's also so symbolic.
A wound from his own father. The person he worked to support.
Exactly, a literal mark of rejection, of familial violence.
There's the mother.
She just can't cope, can she?
Not at all. She has these emotional breakdowns, faints when she sees him, avoids him. She can't face the reality of what he's become, which isolates him even more. Her inability to even look at him becomes another wall between them.
Yeah, it's like her own delicate feelings are more important than his suffering, another layer of separation.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me. The biggest transformation isn't Gregor's physical one, it's Greet's change.
Ah, yes, Greet's. That's arguably the most tragic shift.
She starts out as the main caregiver, right? Reluctantly, maybe, but she does it. Brings food, cleans the room, tries to adapt to his needs.
Shows that initial attempt at connection, however strained.
But then, over time, that care turns into something else. Disgust, resentment.
Burden. She starts seeing the past, his room, him, as just a disgusting chore.
And then comes that turning point, the absolute rock-bottom moment of betrayal after the lodgers see him.
Yes, when he accidentally reveals himself and scares off their source of income, that's when Greet snaps.
And she says it, that line that just chills you to the bone.
We have to get rid of it.
Not him, not Gregor, not my brother, it's Shri.
That's the moment, the complete dehumanization, erasing his identity, denying his humanity, justifying, well, everything that follows.
She basically becomes his emotional executioner, the one who cared most, now leading the charge to discard him.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this isn't just about one messed up family, is it?
No, Kafka's aiming bigger.
Yeah, it's a powerful critique of how society works, or maybe how it fails. He's showing us this really uncomfortable truth: when someone stops being useful,
stops performing their role, stops providing.
Society, even the people closest to them, can just turn away, turn their backs.
We see echoes of that all the time, don't we? How we treat the sick, the elderly, the unemployed, people with disabilities.
Absolutely. Their value can suddenly diminish in the eyes of others once they're not seen as economically productive or self-sufficient. It might be subtle, or sometimes not subtle at all.
Gregor's family's journey from that initial concern to disgust to outright rejection, it's like a miniature version of that societal dynamic.
A microcosm, exactly. Showing how easily we can dehumanize people based on their usefulness or their inability to fit in. It's a stark look at how conditional empathy can be, especially when money or convenience is involved.
Kafka really drives that home, doesn't he? showing the family worrying about finances, how Gregor's condition is an inconvenience.
Yeah, those little domestic details, the mounting costs, they seem to weigh more heavily than Gregor's actual suffering, his agony. It's this chilling calculation where utility just replaces love, replaces basic human decency.
It's brutal, seeing how quickly the heart can harden when faced with something monstrous, inconvenient, expensive.
Especially when you can convince yourself it's not really human anymore.
Which I guess leads us straight into the themes, the symbolism. There's so much packed in there.
Oh, definitely. It's incredibly rich.
So obviously the big one is alienation, isolation. That transformation is the ultimate symbol of being cut off, isn't it?
Completely. He's physically trapped in his room behind a locked door, but he's also trapped because he can't communicate properly anymore.
Can't connect with the people he loves, the ones he sacrificed everything for. It's that feeling of being utterly separate.
Yeah, total separation from family, friends, society. And some critics take that even further psychologically.
How so?
Well, they see the transformation, the confinement, as this powerful metaphor for something like, say, severe depression, or maybe a debilitating chronic illness.
That makes a lot of sense. Feeling monstrous, unrecognizable even to yourself.
Exactly. Being confined, unable to participate in life, avoiding light, having difficulty with your own body, struggling to make others understand what you're going through.
Those are all things people with severe depression or certain illnesses experience.
Right. The bug becomes this external symbol of that internal agony, that feeling of being a burden, of being fundamentally estranged from everyone, even yourself.
A literal monster reflecting an inner torment.
Yeah. And tied into that alienation is the whole economic angle, the critique of capitalism, or at least the dehumanizing side of work.
Right, the idea that your value is tied to your job.
Kafka really exposes that, doesn't he? This sort of cruel logic in how society, especially in that industrializing era he was writing in, measures human worth.
And it's arguably even more relevant today.
Perhaps. As long as Gregor was productive, earning money, paying off that debt, he mattered. He had value in the family unit. Maybe he was even the most valuable member because of that income.
But the second he can't work anymore,
The second he transforms and becomes physically incapable of doing his job, poof, he's instantly useless. A burden. An expense.
it really forces you to ask, doesn't it? How much do we tie our own self-worth, or the worth we see in others, to their job title, their income, their product?
Financial success. Kafka's story is this stark warning that our basic humanity can easily get sidelined by our perceived utility.
Reducing people to just cogs in the machine.
Exactly. And remember the chief clerk, the boss figure who shows up early on.
Yeah, he doesn't come because he's worried about Gregor's health, does he?
Not at all. He's there because Gregor missed the train, because work isn't getting done. He represents that impersonal bureaucratic system where illness is just an inconvenient disruption to business.
Adds another layer to that feeling of being disposable.
Absolutely.
And, it's hard to talk about Kafka without touching on his own life, the biographical element.
True. His relationship with his father looms large over much of his work.
Yeah, that complex, difficult relationship with Hermann Kafka, his father. Kafka wrote about feeling inadequate, guilty, crushed by his father's expectations.
That famous letter to his father lays it all bare.
So when you see how Gregor's father treats him in the story, the disdain, the anger, culminating in that violent apple throwing.
It's hard not to see a parallel, is it? That father-son conflict seems mirrored right there. Rejection and anger instead of compassion.
And that apple wound, specifically from the father, festering, feels deeply personal.
It does. It shows how those intense, private anxieties can be transformed in literature into something universal. His personal torment becomes a way for us to explore broader themes of rejection, authority, family dynamics.
Which brings us back to Gregor's own internal experience, his slow fading.
Yes, the slow loss of his own humanity, which is maybe the most tragic part of all.
Because at the start, even though he's physically a bug, his mind is still human.
Completely. He thinks like Gregor. He wants to open the door, talk to them, make them understand. He longs for that connection. He remembers his past life.
He even tries to appreciate music later on, when Greet plays the violin, at a deeply human response.
Exactly. He's still Gregor inside that shell,
Yeah.
but as the isolation gets worse.
Physically stuck in his room, which becomes less of a bedroom and more of a a dumping ground almost.
Yeah, filled with furniture that obstructs his new way of moving. And emotionally isolated, too, because nobody really tries to understand him to connect with the person inside.
So what happens?
He starts to change internally. He retreats. He becomes more bug-like in his habits, prefers the dark, hides under the sofa, starts liking the taste of garbage.
Loses interest in human interaction, except maybe fear.
Right. It's this awful gradual decline, and it mirrors, again, maybe how deep depression or extreme isolation can make someone withdraw, lose touch with who they were, with the world.
Almost becoming the monster they feel like, or the monster others perceive them to be.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy driven by neglect and rejection. Horrifying.
So what does this all mean? We've got alienation, capitalism, family dynamics, psychological decline. Kafka's weaving a pretty complex and, frankly, bleak picture.
He is. It's multi-layered, and each layer kind of reinforces the others. It paints this comprehensive picture of human vulnerability, the fragility of our place in the world, and how easily things can fall apart.
And the chilling thing is, it doesn't feel dated, does it?
Not one bit.
The Metamorphosis is, what, over a century old now? Written back in 1915. But it still feels painfully relevant today. Its themes just haven't aged.
If anything, they might feel sharper in some ways.
Think about our world now. Corporate culture, the pressure cooker of education, social media expectations, that constant demand to perform, to produce, to be on.
The hustle culture.
Exactly. And the underlying message is still there, isn't it? As long as you're productive, contributing, fitting in, you're generally valued. You've got your place.
But stumble.
Yeah, if you fall behind, maybe you get sick, maybe you burn out, maybe you just can't keep up with the relentless pace, you can suddenly feel forgotten. Disposable, like a burden.
We see it everywhere. Gig economy workers treated as interchangeable parts, people with chronic illnesses fighting to stay employed. The stigma around mental health forcing people to hide their struggles just to seem productive.
Kafka really tapped into something timeless about that anxiety, didn't he? That fear of becoming useless in an unforgiving system.
He absolutely did. And Gregor's story forces us to confront these really fundamental, uncomfortable questions about who we are.
Like what actually defines us?
Right. Is it just our body? If that changes radically, are we still us? Is our identity just our job description, our economic output?
Or is it something deeper?
Or is it humanity inside? Our consciousness, our memories, our feelings, the self that carries on regardless of what happens on the outside.
When Greek calls Gregor it,
she's doing more than just using a word. She's actively erasing his identity in her mind for the whole family, denying the Gregor that's still in there.
and that's the core of the tragedy, isn't it? He was still Gregor inside, thinking, feeling, remembering, supporting them, wanting connection.
Yearning for understanding, for love, for just recognition of his continued personhood. But they stopped seeing it, or chose not to.
The world just saw the monster.
Even though the internal self was still there, suffering, decaying. Which is why the story isn't just horror fiction, it's philosophy, it's existential dread-made narrative.
It makes you question just how fragile your own place in the world is. How easily your identity, your personhood could be stripped away by how others see you, or by circumstances beyond your control.
It's a terrifying mirror, really. Reflecting our own potential prejudices, the conditional nature of our empathy, how much is our own self-worth tied to external validation. It's chilling.
And then comes the ending, which is just bleak, doesn't even cover it.
It's devastating, utterly devastating.
So Gregor, after weeks of this neglect, suffering from that festering apple wound, starving because they barely feed him properly anymore, he just dies. Alone in his room.
A quiet, lonely, undignified end for someone who gave up his life for them.
But the real gut punch is the family's reaction, or lack thereof.
Exactly. There's no mourning, no grief, no sense of loss for their son, their brother.
Instead, what do they feel?
Relief, palpable relief. The cleaning lady finds the body, announces it almost casually, like taking out the trash.
And the family, they just shed the burden.
Immediately, they start making plans, a new future, moving to a smaller apartment now that they don't have Gregor's room to worry about or his non-existent income.
And Graders is suddenly full of life again, stretching, thinking about getting married.
It's this profoundly unsettling conclusion, the final act of erasure. His death isn't a tragedy for them, it's a liberation, a collective sigh of, finally it's over.
Complete dehumanization, right to the end.
And that ending, as harsh as it is, it reveals maybe the darkest truth Kafka presents. Just how quickly we can be wiped away from the lives of people we devoted ourselves to.
How conditional love, support, even basic recognition can be.
It really exposes the transactional underbelly of some relationships, where the bond depends entirely on you fulfilling your role, being convenient, being productive.
The family's focus immediately shifts to their future, to Greet's potential.
Yeah.
It's like this perverse rebirth that can only happen once Gregor, the obstacle, is gone.
They literally have his body disposed of like garbage, from son to burden to object to nothing, annihilated.
And the message for us, the readers?
Well, it forces us to look inward, doesn't it? How often do we, maybe unknowingly, put conditions on our own care and support for others? Are we really there for people when they're at their most vulnerable, when they're difficult, when they're no longer useful in the ways we expect?
Or do we subtly withdraw? Does our empathy have limits tied to convenience or expectation?
The ending makes you confront that uncomfortable possibility in yourself, in your own life. It questions the depth of our compassion and highlights the terrifying fragility of feeling like you belong, like you matter unconditionally.
Wow. Okay, that is definitely a challenging thought to sit with, but I think a crucial one as we wrap up this deep dive into Kafka's masterpiece.
It stays with you.
It really does, and it makes you ask yourself, doesn't it? If you were Gregor, transformed, helpless, how would your people, your society react? Would they stand by you unconditionally? Or would they maybe slowly, maybe quickly start to see you as a burden to be managed or removed?
A deeply unsettling question.
It is. I really encourage you, listening, to think about that fragility of support, the nature of empathy in your own world. It's a question that's hard to shake once you've really considered it.
Indeed. And maybe the core takeaway from all this, the simple but incredibly powerful message, is that we must strive to value people for who they are, not just what they do.
Beyond productivity, beyond status.
Exactly. For their inherent humanity, their inner self, their intrinsic worth. That doesn't change with circumstances or appearance or ability. True humanity maybe isn't about output. It's about empathy, compassion, recognizing the person inside.
A vital message.
This dive into the metamorphosis, it's terrifying, it's heartbreaking, but it's also, as you said, profoundly human. It forces us to look at ourselves and the kind of world we're creating.
Absolutely. And with that, I think we'll wrap up today's conversation. We really hope this exploration of Kafka's work has given you some new perspectives and definitely some things to mull over about humanity, empathy, and maybe the hidden costs of the way we live now.
Food for thought, for sure.
Definitely. Until next time, keep reading, keep questioning, and never stop thinking.